All right, let's move on to number 8. This is from Apostrophes. Apostrophes 108. Sorry. Apostrophes has a 108 score of karma. Very, very sad. If you weren't a television host, which of the dirty jobs you filmed do you think you'd most like to do for a living? That's a pretty good question. There have been 245 dirty jobs so far. And, you know, in spite of the fact that the window washing thing really scared the hell out of me, it was beautiful. And it's, you know, you get used to it, and it's fun, and you're way the heck up in the air in Hawaii, and the scenery's great. And one minute there's a dirty window in front of you, and the next minute you've cleaned it. It feels like you're doing something, you know? Certain satisfaction in completing tasks. So, washing windows would be something I'd be willing to do. Plus, it's more lucrative than you think. The guy that has the contract for the window washing gig in Hawaii has it for all the high rises, you know, and it's not cheap. I mean, it's like $60,000, $70,000 a year to clean windows on a single building. And he's got 300 buildings. You start to do the math, you know, he's doing okay. You know what else was like was taro farming. Poi, you know, poi, the Hawaiian thing that comes from the taro root. And taro grows in Hawaii. You know, it's hard, but it's kind of nice. You're standing in water in paradise, pulling roots out of the ground. I could do that. I could do that for a while, I think. And shrimping. I really enjoy. I like being on the water, catching shrimp. North Carolina, that was good. Oystering was good too, you know. But the thing is, for me, really, apostrophes. Were you in Cats? Is that the name of a cat? Was that like Old Deuteronomy and
Mephistopheles?
Mephistopheles. Sorry, I've confused you with the devil. Awkward. Anyhow, you know, I wouldn't do any of them for a living. I'm doing for a living right now exactly what I really love to do, and I know I'm lucky, and it's rare to be able to say that, but you know, as a guy with some mild form of adult DD, it's particularly gratifying for me to be able to taste a lot of different things, and my career and this gig in particular has afforded me the chance to do that. You know, I try a lot of things, and I leave at the end of the day. I touch everything like it's hot. Ow, next, right? I need to know this thing's name. It's absolutely, I'm borderline rude. We're moving on now to a person called Swigger or Swiger, S-W-I-G-G-E-R. Again, a fairly dismal karma score of 677, but better than apostrophes at 108. But nobody's topping Martin Bishop at 3976. Swiger says, has there been a job that you refuse to do yourself or come very close to saying, I can't do this? Many, actually. My job on the show isn't to succeed. My job is to try. I'm really, literally paid to try. So, you know, I can't say no. I have to attempt it. That's the bad news. The good news is I am not evaluated or judged in any way for my performance. So on the one hand, I'm in this highly competitive, results-driven business, but on the other, on a day-to-day basis, I'm really not evaluated or measured on any kind of meaningful scale. So it's kind of like, from work anyhow, I'm graded on this colossal curve, you know, almost like a right angle. So I manage expectations as best I can with the viewer. So people know that ultimately my job is not to succeed, but to simply give it a shot. So I'm not saying I don't strike out, I'm just saying that I never strike out standing there with the bat on my shoulder. I swing. I miss, but you know, I swing. Orpheum? Ophanim. Ophanim. Where do people get your names, man? Isn't anybody Jack or Kathy anymore? Ophanim 24, the karma here. Ophanim Dunson. Baby been a bad, bad girl. Or boy. You think Ophanim is feminine? Masculine? AI? It's close to Ophelia, right? So that was a girl. Ophanim. Sometimes it seems like people who are showing you how to do the job treat you with a little bit of malice or disdain, or try overly hard to cut you down to size. Other times, they seem to be genuinely happy to have you around and are excited to be teaching the ropes to you. What's the usual treatment you receive from the job hosts, and what do you do to deal with any negativity? That's a good question, actually. And the answer has varied over the years. When Dirty Jobs started in season 1, it was by far, in my opinion, the most honest show on TV. Truly, no scripts, no second takes. You know, those things are still the same, but something has happened to the show as it's found an audience. I think it was Heisenberg, right? The uncertainty principle, German physicist, who discusses the fact that the mere act of observing a thing will change the inherent thingness of it. And that's really the case with television. So when we go out to look for regular people, we have no trouble finding them. But now the regular people we find are people who have seen the show. And so in that reptilian part of their brain, they have this notion of how they should be on the TV. Some people are delightfully unaffected by this. Others are slaves to it. And you can see it in the show when you watch. You might notice a person who's completely in his or her head, trying to be the person they think I might want them to be, trying to be the boss, for instance, consequently starting to act like one. That's bad, and when that happens, I try and stop it. And I do it not by talking about it the way I'm talking to you now, but I try and break their pattern. I try and do something unusual or unexpected and kind of get them out of that. It's tricky to do because I try hard not to be the host. And I love the way you ask this, the treatment you receive from job host. I'm really not the host of the show. I'm the guest. The people I meet are the hosts. And so to answer your question, you know, look at it like a dinner party. Some have good hosts, some don't. Some are natural and just instinctively accommodating, you know. Others are careful. You don't know who you're going to find. But the cool thing about Dirty Jobs is even if you find somebody who's really not ideal, it still works because the claim of the show and the expectation of the show is not to manufacture it. So that's why we let people sometimes, you know, talk badly to me. You know, I mean, if I'm genuinely annoying someone, I don't want them to pretend as though they're not genuinely annoyed. I remember one time in season 1, there are 2 great examples. The first one was fishing for crawdads down in the Atchafalaya Swamp. I went down there to meet a guy named Rick. Rick owned the operation. Rick was a great guy, but Rick was anxious to show us his operation and go catch some crawfish. Okay, well, while I'm talking to Rick, this old guy comes in out of the woods in a little boat, you know, and he looks like he could be 50 or maybe 100. Just one of these timeless guys who come out of the swamp. And his name was Floyd, and he starts unloading his catch. He was one of the suppliers for Rick. And I'm looking at this guy out of the corner of my eye, and I say to Rick, "Who's that?" And he says, "Oh, that's Floyd." I'm like, "Floyd work for you?" Not really. He works for a number of people. He catches what he catches and brings them in. I said, "Can I talk to him?" He said, "You can try. He doesn't like people much." I said, "Okay." So I go over and I introduce myself, and Floyd gives it, "Yeah, how are you?" I'm like, "Yeah, great." You know, we explain the show. And he looks at me and I said, "Have you seen the show before?" Floyd says, "Once or twice." And I say, "What'd you think?" And he said, "Not much." That's the guy you want on TV, you know. We talked Floyd into letting us put our cameras in his boat, and we went out and we spent the day with him catching stuff. So Floyd was just crappy to me all day long. He was short, abusive, but he was himself. So, again, a very long answer to your question. If people are being short and abusive and it's natural, I love it. If they're being short and abusive because they saw an episode of American Chopper and they figure bosses should yell at their employees, screw that. Then they're acting. Then it stinks. Fine question, though, for somebody with such an abysmal karma score.